Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Geeked Out. My name is Kyle.
My name Jeff.
The fuck was that?
That was a terrible rendition of was it 21 Jump Street? Was it the second one he said that?
Oh, yeah. Good lord.
It's Juan. My name is Juan. It's not Jeff.
All
By
right.
the way.
Oh, God, that was good. Well, this week we're finishing up Sam Raimi's trilogy, and we watched Spider-Man 3, originally released on May 4th of 2007. This film stars Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, J.K. Simmons, Thomas Hayden Church, and Topher Grace. It was, as I said, directed by Sam Raimi, and it currently has a 6.3 out of 10 rating on IMDb, with a 63% critic score and 51% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, it's not the greatest score, but considering what this movie is, it doesn't really shock me, especially with as good as the first two were. This one, I don't really think it holds up, but I mean, we'll get into that when we discuss it a little bit more.
There's aspects of it that do hold up, but not what you're referring to, for sure.
No, and I mean, we talked off mic a little bit about that. There are certain things in this movie that I do enjoy, but as a whole, I really think they missed the mark on this one. So, I'm going to ask you, as we kind of do every week, when did you see this movie? I'm going to assume you saw it in theaters as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think most of these superhero movies, you and I both probably would have seen in theaters. That's just my assumption. I could be wrong, but
yeah, for the most part, might be one or two I didn't. Most of them, yeah, for sure. This one in particular, I definitely seen in the theater.
So, what was your opinion of it walking out of the theater, like with your friends or whoever you're with? Like, was the immediate response positive, negative, kind of?
Nah, I was going into the movie disappointed because, like I said in the last podcast, I was following this movie behind this all the latest news and information I could for this movie as well as just like with Spider-Man 2, and yeah, I knew ahead of time that the look of Venom and certain characters in the movie, and I was already disappointed, and because I knew what I was getting myself into, so at least with that character.
See, I remember when this movie came out, the anticipation for Venom was so high that because it was finally it was such a fan favorite character, and I mean, Venom, for a lot of people don't realize, Venom hasn't really been around that long. He was kind of only introduced, I believe it was in the 80s.
It was the 80s. His character was Marvel held a contest, or was it a contest? All I know is a random person submitted their design, and it was the Venom design, and Marvel bought it for like,
I think it was like $500 or something like that. I read something about that.
Something like that. Yeah, it was very low. It was a very low amount of money, and yeah, they bought it and used that design, and that's been the character design ever since.
Yeah, like I said, I remember him being such an anticipated character, and then to see the way he's portrayed in this movie, it was really, really upsetting. I mean, the movie is what, just over 2 hours? I think it's 2 hours 15, something like that. And the character of Venom is maybe on screen for 12 minutes, if that.
Yeah, the anticipation of Venom was so high that I remember I'm pretty sure the Venom scene was at the Comic-Con. They showed it, and yeah,
the part where he gets the part where Eddie Brock gets the symbiote on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really the bread and butter of it, because you get the camera going, like the fast zoom in on him as he opens his mouth, and you get the designs around the eyes and the teeth as the mouth opens.
Yeah.
The rest, I
And
mean,
we all should have known then and there that we're not gonna get the Venom from the comics. But again,
well,
the hype was so high that we just looked past it. We didn't even care, just because we're seeing Venom in live action.
it's funny. I will say I was super skeptical going into it, because, I mean, anybody who's read the comics or knows anything about the character, the character of Eddie Brock himself, before he ever even comes in contact with the symbiote, is this big, hulking, like, he's a big dude. And when they cast Topher Grace, I was like, this guy needs to be on steroids for like 2 years straight to even come close to what the comic book version of this is. And then I was like, well, maybe they're going to take him as a smaller guy, and when he gets the symbiote suit on him, it'll kind of enhance. I was already making apologies for this movie in my head before it ever came out, because I couldn't wrap my mind around how they were going to do it. And I wish, like I said, this movie came out in 2007. Just a year later, we would get the same thing, where everybody was skeptical of a casting choice with Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. But that
and also
RDJ.
Yeah, that's another.
Yeah, this is just a year before the MCU started. I mean, this was such a great time for comic book movies and things like that. But unfortunately, this movie didn't have the magic casting that those two did with those roles as Topher Grace. Nothing against Topher Grace. I mean, myself personally, I don't really see him much as a film actor. I see him more as a TV, more as just continuing, almost like, because that's what everybody knows him from, is Foreman on that 70s show. And I think that's kind of where that's his bread and butter, is where he should kind of stay.
He had only one role that it was actually pretty good. It was in Predators.
I've actually never seen Predators with an S.
That's that's a sleeper hit, man. That's a good movie, and he plays a good character, man. He's good in that movie.
You know what? My favorite.
That's the only one I can think of.
My favorite Topher Grace performances in movies is actually the Ocean's 11 movies.
Oh, I didn't know he was in. I think I've seen some of the first one, and then
those are good movies. Those are fun. Those are fun.
They're not fun watches. Yeah, it looks fun, but at the time, I was not feeling it. So.
Well, but the funniest part is, in those movies, he plays himself, because in the movies, Brad Pitt is teaching a group of like young Hollywood celebrities how to play poker, and he's one of them. And he comes back in, I think, the second or third one, where he's staying in a hotel room at a place that like Brad Pitt owns, and he's like trashed the room. And yeah, so he's got two little cameos as himself that I think they're much better than his performance in most movies. Now, again, like I said, I liked him as Foreman in that 70s show, but that was a much different role than what you see on screen in a film.
Yeah. But as the character Eddie Brock, it was completely wrong. I think what the director was going for was like, he was like the dark reflection of Peter.
Yeah, which, I mean, technically that's kind of how he's written, with the whole photography angle and whatnot.
They wanted, like, even look-wise, build-wise.
Yeah.
Like, wanted to reflect it even more.
Yeah.
Which was stupid.
I agree, but, I mean, before we kind of get into this too far, I think maybe give our listeners a little bit of a... it's funny, I pulled the quick summary off of Wikipedia, because I'm going to read it right now, but Venom isn't even mentioned, which I find really funny. So it says the film follows Peter Parker as he prepares for his future with Mary Jane Watson, while facing Uncle Ben's true killer, which we'll get to, Flint Marko, who becomes Sandman after a freak accident, and Harry Osborn, his former best friend, who is now aware of Peter's identity and seeks to avenge his father. Peter also faces his greatest challenge when he bonds with an extraterrestrial symbiote that increases his abilities but amplifies his anger and other negative traits. It doesn't even mention Venom. I found that really interesting because even the summary, and I know it's on Wikipedia, but even the summary knows how tertiary of a character he is to this story.
Yeah, it's
it's the symbiote more as opposed to the Venom thing.
Yeah, the symbiote itself is in more of the movie than Venom. But yeah, I have problems with that whole thing too.
And I know that Sam Raimi was kind of pigeonholed and he was kind of forced by the studios to put Venom in the movie, but I think there was other ways that this could have been done. I mean, I had said to you off mic that he could have dropped one of the other villains, or I wonder if there's a way that he maybe could have convinced the studio if they were to introduce the symbiote in this and have it just bond to Peter and have it introduce Venom in the next movie. Like if they, because I think they originally were going to do a fourth because there's all kinds of rumors that.
Oh, they were in production. They're in production.
Dude, fuck. And did you hear who one of the villains was supposed to be?
It's gonna be Vulture.
Oh, you're talking the Malkovich rumor.
That's
right. Did you hear who the other one was rumored to be?
I might have. I probably just forgot.
Because they were the rumor was they wanted to have Bruce Campbell as Mysterio.
Yeah, I heard
about that. We got Mysterio in a later movie, but that would have been fucking badass.
That'd have been interesting. I would have liked to see how that would have played out.
Yeah, it's always hard because you always want to see, like, when you hear rumors like that of what these movies could have been or what the sequels could have been, it's like, oh, it could have been so great, but at the same time, it might have been terrible. I mean, I've heard rumors that with the Christopher Nolan Batmans that they wanted Johnny Depp as the Riddler or things like that, which, again, sound really cool, but fuck, who knows what could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would have been. It would have been interesting. Definitely. Was the universe out there where it happened?
Oh yeah. But aside from the whole Venom debate, which we've kind of already beaten to death, it seems, what did you think of the rest of this film? Because that's the big thing that everybody harps on with this is always Venom this, Venom that, blah blah blah. What did you think of the rest of the movie with Peter and Mary Jane, Harry, on all the other characters and situations?
I think the overall plot of the movie when it comes to Peter, Harry, and MJ, I think that whole thing and a lot of the dialogue and acting and direction that was given, it screams like a CW TV drama. Yeah, and every level of this movie, it feels like it. Like the acting, the dialogue, everything. It's just it has a movie production, so it looks better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. and I think a lot of the problem is that those three main characters have. I don't feel they have really any chemistry with one another on screen. Like you watch some movies where with an ensemble cast and they behave like they're a group of friends or family or things like that. I never believe that these three are involved the way that they're supposed to be.
No,
like they just feel like actors reading lines.
Yeah, do not believe that Peter and Harry were ever, at any point in this trilogy, good friends. Because they were at almost every one of these movies, they were at odds with each other in some level.
Well, I mean, like even from the very well, they're supposed to, like you said, they're supposed to be best friends. Even from the very first movie, when they go on that field trip at the beginning, Harry immediately, because Peter won't talk to her, immediately goes over and he's trying to hit on Mary Jane and like impress her using facts that Peter has just told him about spiders. And it's like he's blatantly doing it in front of him. Like, you don't do that to your friend.
Especially your best friend. So yeah,
I've never understood. And this is someone that later Harry refers to as brother. Like, no fucking way.
Right? What, fucking estranged brothers who've never met? Maybe.
It's really weird. Yeah. I mean, right off the bat. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I'd say right off the bat, this isn't about them, but right off the bat at the beginning of this movie, and I hate when movies do this. So, Peter's in university or college, whatever you want to call it, and I'm pretty sure he's at Columbia, which is a very prestigious university in New York. And he's in class, and you've got guys fucking shooting spitballs at him, and I'm sorry, and I get the whole thing that Peter's a quote unquote loser or whatever. People are not bullying people in university like that. Because newsflash, you got to pay to be there.
Yeah, no.
I hate when movies and TV shows do that.
There's no college or university in the United States where you would find that, like, ever.
No, I don't think. And if you did, it's not. But if you did, it's not going to be in like some kind of advanced physics class or whatever Dr. Connors is teaching them.
Exactly.
Like, that always drives me crazy. And it's weird. Like, this movie starts off, and within just a few minutes, you see. The other thing is, Peter and MJ are in, I believe it's Central Park, because I'm pretty sure that's the only location like that in New York. But they're in Central Park in this gigantic fucking spider web that he has obviously made. He's not wearing a mask. He's not wearing a suit. The two of them are just laying in it, and it's like, if anybody is within eyeshot of that, it's like, well, that's Spider-Man.
Or at least establish that they're in an area where no one can see.
Yeah, like I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me.
And if you pay attention to the web, you can see like the thing, like the actual whatever material that they're using to hold them. You could see it within the webbing.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that.
Yeah, they didn't really try to hide it, but yeah.
But another one of my issues with this movie is it's so. I feel that it's so jumbled because there's so much going on. I mean, you've got overall by the time you get to the climax of the movie, you've got 3 villains, and there's so much going. There's the plot where Peter wants to propose to Mary Jane, and he finds out that, as I said, we get to it, but we find out that he quote unquote killed or let the wrong person die for Uncle Ben's murder, which they retconned with that, which I think is a little fucking ridiculous. But I don't know why it has to be this villain who did it, and it couldn't just be a random carjacker.
Yeah. I don't know why I needed to touch that. Anyways, it's for whatever reason he wanted to rehash that and retcon that whole thing. Yeah, it was completely unnecessary introduction to one of Spider-Man's one of his most known villains.
And I mean, I will say I liked what they did with Sandman in this movie. I thought it was pretty good overall.
Yeah, they definitely should have given them more Sandman plot line. I think that was, something that they should have explored more. But understand, the director was forced to have Venom into the story, so he probably had to cut a lot of the Sandman plot out. But I just wish that they would have expanded it more, because it would have made the movie way more enjoyable and
yeah, because I think the movie overall would have benefited, like we said before, if they didn't have the whole Venom thing. Because when you've got three villains, it becomes so convoluted and, like I said, jumbled and kind of hard to follow.
Yeah, because Venom basically needs a whole movie with the introduction. Like, the way they introduce Venom is a thing falls from the sky, but you don't know if it's from space. You don't know where this thing's coming from. If you know Venom, you do know, but if you're going into this movie not knowing anything about Venom, you don't know what the fuck just happened.
Well, that was the other thing. That's why everybody was so hyped, because in the second movie we got John Jameson, and that's I believe that's his name, J. Jonah's son. Because in the comics he's an astronaut, and the symbiote comes basically. I forget if it integrates itself in the ship or how it does it, but it comes to Earth with him.
That was the animated show.
Oh, that's right. That's the show, not the. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The comics. How he gets the symbiote was basically he gets a suit from Battle World and the whole Secret War.
Yes.
That whole event, and they use that as the Venom suit.
But you say, there's at least a backstory. Whereas this, it's just Peter and Mary Jane come down off of a fucking spider web, and apparently the world's the quietest meteorite in history lands.
Yeah. But why would you even introduce the son of J. Jonah Jameson if you weren't gonna go down the road? You had the perfect setup for this.
The reason why they did it. It's so that Mary Jane could run away after fucking
of course,
leaving him at the altar.
I mean, you could have plugged in anybody, really, but the fact that you use a known character, a character that, because, a lot of people at that time watched the cartoon, the animated series, and they just figured, I think a lot of people are probably just putting it in their own, I guess, wishing that it would happen. But
yeah,
I mean, you had the perfect setup right there, is all I'm saying, and they just wasted
They chose
it.
not to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Which was it's definitely a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. What did you think of the creation, I guess, of the Sandman?
Great.
Yeah, I thought it looked really. I like that. It just shows him kind of when he goes home, because he's on the run. He's escaped from prison, and he's on the run and he goes home to kind of visit because his daughter's sick with some kind of disease, and it just shows him open his dresser drawer and pull his shirt out, and it's like, okay, there we go. Now we've got our costume. We're ready to go.
He's like, oh, yep, I recognize this from the comics. And he puts it on.
That's exactly what it is.
That's a, but I do appreciate that they, went comic accurate with his, I guess, his costume or his outfit.
Yeah, because he doesn't really have, like, it's not a costume. It's pants and a t-shirt type thing, but like
exactly his iconic look, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I will say I liked. Now I think you're just gonna dislike what I'm about to say, but I liked. But I liked Sandman. I really liked all the Green Goblin stuff with Harry. I thought the fact that he kind of I know it's different from what you see in the show and the books and all that, but you get to see what he took or what he got from the stuff that his dad had, and he kind of tweaked it to make it his own. I thought
he's fucking riding around on a fucking flying.
I loved the snowboard. I loved the snowboard.
That shit. Nah.
I loved the snowboard look. I don't know why. I thought it looked really good.
Ugh, that shit was lame. How could it be a glider?
Well, because the snowboard apparently, especially in New York City, is a lot more practical because he can fit through the narrower spaces between some of the buildings, as you see in the fight chase with Peter.
Oh yeah, perfect.
So I think that showed it more practical until he gets fucking smoked in the head and fucking gets amnesia. I
call that the clothesline from hell. That was the clothesline from hell, man. He got clotheslined literally with a clothesline. It was his web.
It was the web.
He got
hit with the web, then he got smoked in the head, and then like thrown into a dumpster. Oh yeah, he got fucked up real good. And then he wakes up with amnesia, which I don't know if I read this wrong, but I feel that James Franco just played the entire time with amnesia like he's fucking hammered.
Probably was hammered.
Because he's just got, especially when he's in the hospital bed, and he's just got this like constant grin on his face, and he's like, "Those are my friends. I'm so lucky to have friends." Like he played it
like he's like often edible.
Oh yeah, he was on. He was playing it like he was on something.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, like.
But I enjoyed it because it made me chuckle.
Ugh. I am not a fan of Harry Osborn, or at least James Franco's rendition. I just don't like it. I don't like it.
You know what's
nothing.
I'm not a fan. Well, I'm not a fan of him as Harry. I didn't mind him once he was like playing the Goblin, but then as soon as he goes back to being Harry, I'm like, yeah, you're okay, but I like the Goblin. Like, just stay as the Goblin. I will say I'm glad that Peter didn't call him Gobby in this, because that irritates me. I don't know why.
And like, they don't mention it, but they call him the New Goblin. He's the New Goblin. Ugh.
I know it's not the right origin, but they should have just had him be Hobgoblin.
Terrible.
If you really want to do it, just have him be Hobgoblin. I know it's the wrong origin, the wrong thing, but just do it that way.
And if they would have done that route and have him kind of look like the Hobgoblin, I'd be like, okay, this makes sense. But no, they had to have a whole new Goblin that I didn't.
Or just call him Green Goblin. Be like, oh, he's got a new look. Oh well, he's still Green Goblin. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know.
Right? Yeah,
I will say I love in this movie that, so we've talked before about how bad Kirsten Dunst her portrayal of Mary Jane has been, and her acting. I love that in this movie. This movie actually has like a meta moment where she is criticized for her acting in a movie where she's acting terribly.
Yeah, because it's what we're all thinking.
And then she gets fired so unceremoniously from her Broadway show.
Whack.
I love that
Mary
when she just
Jane.
walks in for like rehearsal and is like, "Hey, why is someone doing my part? Oh, I'm fired."
I don't like. Are we supposed to like Mary Jane in these movies?
I think
'Cause
you're
I feel
supposed
like
to,
we're-
but they did it wrong.
I feel like we're not supposed to. I feel like we're supposed to not, because we, in the comics and animated renditions of her, yeah, she's a great character, but in
That's
this,
because she's a
in
character.
this
This movie,
trilogy,
she's nothing.
she's nothing but a damsel who likes to cheat on whoever she's with.
Yeah, she does. She's done it with
That's
every single one.
it. And,
You know what?
Yeah.
The only one she didn't cheat on was Flash.
Yeah. Because they broke up.
Yeah, they broke up before she ever met Spider-Man.
Harry dated him right after, right?
Yeah,
For like a little bit.
which is another reason why. How could you think that the two of them are best friends?
Yeah. They should have held that for the third movie.
The Harry MJ dating.
Yeah. I think it would have had a bigger impact.
Well, you get to see them make a fucking omelet together. What a scene that is!
Fucking waste of time.
Dude, a lot of this movie is a waste of time. But another character that's introduced in this movie, which is something that irritated the fuck out of me when it came out, because I was ranting for the longest time that they fucked the timeline of all of the Spider-Man stuff, because this movie, the third movie, introduces Gwen Stacy. Now, if anybody has followed any of the Spider-Man stuff, Gwen Stacy was Peter's love interest before Mary Jane. So I remember when this came out, I was so pissed because I was like, no, they're shitting on continuity. They're this, and like, I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was like,
punches in the air and shit.
Dude, I was furious. I was like, no, Gwen is supposed to be long dead before Mary Jane comes into the picture.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wasn't happy.
First love.
I will say I do like Bryce Dallas Howard playing her.
Yeah.
And, it's a little jarring now that she's become such a prominent actress with her, especially with her red hair, and she just pops up in this movie with bleach blonde. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, but it worked on her. It worked for her.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then sorry.
It didn't really upset me, the whole timeline of the relationship. I kind of just accepted it.
I think I've gotten past it, but in the moment when it first came out, I was furious.
Yeah. Well, the way they treat in this movie is kind of just like almost like a fling. When that's his first love is Gwen. That's his first love, and they don't really treat it as such.
Well, like we were saying about Mary Jane, is she's in this movie, in all of these movies, she's just that damsel that she needs Spider-Man to help her and this and that. And all they do in this movie is they have her be a damsel, but they also just have her be constantly jealous and petty towards Peter. Like, when she's reading the review, like the bad review in the newspaper about her play, he's like, oh, I know exactly what you mean, because people will write these things about Spider-Man, and he's legitimately trying to express to her, like, I know how you feel and I relate to it. Like, And immediately she just looks at him and goes, "This is about me. Why are you bringing yourself up?" And it's like, because he's trying to help you.
True, but
what are you talking about?
I get. Yeah, I see.
I know it's a different thing because he's a superhero and it's her career and all that stuff, but it's like Peter's not an actor. Peter's not looked at in the public eye the way that she would be as an act, like as that Broadway actress. So he's trying to find any way that will allow them or allow him to kind of talk to her on that level of experiencing the same thing. True. And he gets like shit on for attempting to help her.
It was just the wrong time to talk about himself, because I think like the city is celebrating Spider-Man and appreciating him, and so I think she was a little bit jealous.
Well, don't be a shitty actress then.
But it's true. It was just he should have. It was just the wrong time to bring himself up in that conversation. That's all.
No, I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
I just think that she got I think that she just went like the way they had her play it, or the way she played it. Like,
she definitely overreacted. She definitely overreacted. But it was warranted a little bit. But she completely overreacted.
Yeah.
But there is a moment that she reacted to exactly how she should have, is when Peter and Gwen kissed. They recreated it.
Absolutely.
That's the only part of this movie where I agree with Mary Jane being as upset as she was.
And you know what? It's not even the fact that they did the kiss. It's that afterwards she asked him about it, and he looks at her like, "What's the big deal?" Like he doesn't understand why she gets so upset.
Right?
I think that's even worse.
Yeah, he's kind of
he's a dick through this whole movie.
Socially, relationship, unintelligent.
But I will
completely. It was. It was weird.
The way he's portrayed this whole movie is he's super selfish and he's just a dick. And I know a lot of that really comes out when he's wearing the symbiote, but
even before it, he was kind of dickish and selfish.
Oh yeah, and they really show that off with the professional competition that he has with Eddie Brock. Oh, I guess we'll talk about him. Eddie Brock, Topher fucking Grace.
I mean, it's not his fault. He was given I feel like it wasn't his. I think it's just because all of these actors have done better roles, better acting, and
no, I'm not saying
roles,
that
so I know that
Topher Grace is a. Yeah, I'm not saying he's a terrible actor. I'm just saying he the way the part is portrayed is very strange. I mean, I will say it does work.
Oh, sure.
In terms of creating that rivalry between the two of them, because J. Jonah gives them the option of like, there's a staff job available at the Bugle, and he says, whoever can get me a picture of Spider-Man committing a crime. And immediately Peter says that's never going to happen, and Topher Grace is like, well, it'll happen, and I'll be there to capitalize on it type thing. And immediately it just shows the two of them butting heads, like, because Peter's like, well, I've been taking pictures for this paper for like 2-3 years now. You're just coming in off the street demanding the job that should go to me, which Peter's right. I mean, if I'm being honest. But
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, the way he is through this movie, both of them, both Peter and Eddie is, I don't know. There's something about it. I can't put my finger on why it irritates me. It just irritates me a lot.
For me, I just got very TV, Dawson's Creek vibes from it.
Yeah, I get
Even
that.
like the rivalry between them, the way it's written. Again, it has very TV vibes. Like it doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah, and it's funny even now in the third movie. To me the most enjoyable parts, or some of the most enjoyable parts, are when J.K. Simmons is on screen, and that hasn't changed, which is pretty bad. That a movie like this, the most enjoyable scenes aren't when the heroes are on screen.
Yeah.
Because like even when they're arguing for the staff job, and you've got Betty Brant constantly buzzing Jonah about his pills and whatnot, I find that hilarious. That whole scene.
Yeah. You cut off a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Oh, I was just saying, the scene where you've got when they're arguing over the staff job, and Betty Brant is like constantly paging Jonah about his pills.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay.
I thought that scene was really funny. And again, I don't know if it's because they take these movies so seriously that watching those scenes with where you've got that comedy and that levity is so much better. I don't know if that's what it is, but yeah, it's weird. Well, but like I said, it's weird when you watch a movie with like a superhero movie where like your most enjoyable parts aren't watching the superhero himself.
Yeah, it's, you shouldn't have characters that don't have a lot of time in the movie completely almost steal the movie.
Well, and I feel that through all three of these movies, that's happened with side characters.
Yeah. I don't want to, I don't want to feel like I want to stay with J. Jonah more than I want to stay with Spider-Man, who that's the movie is about. Yeah. Especially in this one. Like, yeah, the most enjoyable parts are those scenes with J. Jonah, for sure.
Well, I mean, I think there's not really a whole lot of. I mean, apart from Peter finding out that that Sandman is the one. Why don't we talk about that? What did you think about that? That if they retcon that he's the one who killed Uncle Ben.
That was a subplot that was completely unnecessary, and they could have found a better way to introduce the character. I do not remember his comic origins.
Neither do I.
But they could have at least adapted.
But he doesn't need to be. There doesn't need to be a history there. He could literally just be what he is. A guy who escaped prison, fell into some outdoor physics experiment, whatever that was, and just became the Sandman. I mean, there doesn't need to be a history with Peter or with Spider-Man or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No, they didn't have to connect at all. They could have just been a bad guy that was forced into being a bad guy because he had a sick daughter. You could have ran with that, but not have him connect with Peter.
Yeah, it could have just been like, well, now he's the Sandman, and Peter's like, well, he's a villain. I got to take him down. Like, it could have been that simple.
Yeah, you still could have, succeeded with making him a sympathetic villain, just leaning more into the whole him, having a dog.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to have him the whole connected with his uncle and him being responsible. You didn't need that. That was, that was just unnecessary. And again, like, only in a TV show would you have things connect so much.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when you put it that way, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's just again, like, I did like a quick rewatch of this, and I didn't really see it before, but yeah, it's hard not to unsee that feel that vibe when you watch it. For me,
Yeah, I refer to watching this movie as excruciating, personally.
I'll when not
Go ahead,
only
defend
thing
it.
I no, there's just certain scenes and certain things about this movie that holds up. Yeah, like, I'm not going to defend that because it's atrocious.
You cut
But
out there.
I said I'm not going to defend the acting or the dialogue or the plot or the subplots. No, because it's all quite terrible. But I like the action in this movie. The CG definitely holds up.
Yeah, much better CG than the first movie. I will give him that.
There's small things, small slivers of good things in this movie. Yeah, like the J. Jonah Jameson scenes, and yeah, those so far.
I really like the
other things that are like the purpose of this movie. Sorry, go.
Are the what?
Yeah, those are the things that I enjoyed. Very few, but completely trashed the movie.
I agree. I think most of the action looks pretty good, and when you talk about the CGI, I really like when they do the giant Sandman. Like, he's portrayed a lot like that in the comics and in the show. And what I remember, one of the things I always think about when I think anything to do with Spider-Man is there's I'm not sure if you've ever been to Universal Studios in Florida. There's a Spider-Man ride that it's fantastic, and all of his major villains appear on this ride, and so whenever I think of Spider-Man, that's kind of one of the first things that I think of. And the Sandman is in that, and he looks like he's got the big supersized native sand look that he has for parts of this movie that I thought those looked really good.
Yeah, and the whole robbing of the money truck, that whole scene was great. It's classic Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and I appreciated it.
Yeah, it's just a vehicle that's out of control that he has to try and stop. And
no, I agree also with that. Fighting a criminal who's made of sand for the first time.
Yeah,
it was well done.
Could you imagine being one of these heroes, and it's like some of these villains, like whether it be Spider-Man or Batman or any of these superheroes?
No, imagine the motherfucking people. Imagine the motherfucking people in the armored truck.
Or you see
a motherfucker made of sand comes and attacks.
When he sees the shadow.
Dude, I'm leaving New York. I'm going to a different country with no fucking villains. If I ever see that, if I ever come across a person made of fucking sand attacking me, that's it. I'm changing my life after that.
Well, you could meet someone made of sand, or you can meet Hydro Man.
Hydro. Or a fucking person.
Or Electro.
Or Electro. Or a fucking bird, old man bird thing in the sky. God damn. I gotta get out of New York.
I will say, I thought a really funny thing. Like, it's funny you brought up the armored truck scene because as I normally, while we're recording these, I'll put the movie on in the background with no sound, and that scene just finished when he's pulling his boot and his mask off, and he's got sand in it. All I could hear is Hayden Christensen from Attack of the Clones when he's doing that.
Oh,
Talking about how he hates sand. And for some reason, I think it would have been funny for Tobey Maguire to just take his mask off and go, "I hate sand." I would have got a kick out of that.
right? Yeah, you didn't get no Spider-Man quips.
No comedy.
You get no quips.
No, none at all. He's very, and that's what I mean by when I said they take most of this movie and the Spider-Man stuff so fucking seriously. Spider-Man was always someone who did things seriously, but at the same time, he did it in a light-hearted way. And it made it so much more enjoyable.
He used all his stress and fear and all the negativity and stress as, you know, in his life and as a superhero, and he would use it as comedy. Like,
yeah,
that's what he does, and it's none of that in this movie.
No, which is kind of it's interesting. Once he becomes, and I think we'll get to it in a second. Once he becomes what people have referred to for years as emo Peter or emo Spider-Man, it seems like that's who he's been for this entire time, just without the look. Because he doesn't behave like he's happy about anything. It's everything's doom and gloom unless it has to do with Mary Jane, and then that's the only time he ever seems happy. It's like, dude, come on.
I mean, I feel like he was kind of happy when everyone was praising him as Spider-Man in this movie. Like,
that goes back to the selfishness we talked about.
Yeah, but it was definitely going to his head. For sure.
100%.
But yeah, you didn't really get any of him. You didn't really get him being hopeful.
No. God, no. Like I say, everything with him is doom and gloom in these movies.
For sure.
And then you get this. Well, then we have the scene. We go on from. It's immediate cut. Like, the cuts in this movie are so fast and quick. It seems like there's a million things going on at once sometimes. Because you go from the cut after the fight with the armored truck to probably my favorite Bruce Campbell cameo is the maitre d' at the restaurant where Peter wants to propose to Mary Jane. And he's got the French accent with a little pencil mustache. But this whole scene again, when he's trying to, it goes back to the selfishness. He's trying to tell Mary Jane how much he loves her and that he wants to marry her and all these other things. And he immediately starts off by talking about himself and how great it was being honored to be Spider-Man. And like, you got to read the room. Like, you can't start a proposal by talking about how great you are.
Yeah, man. Especially when you know your significant other is going through a tough time. You should be consoling or at least talking to her without boosting yourself up.
Well, and she's going through a tough enough time that she doesn't even tell him that she got fired from the show. He finds out later from Harry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, like, at this point, he still thinks she's in the play, everything's going great. He has no fucking idea what's going on with her. And then, of course, Gwen comes in and ruins, like, interrupts them, and he once again can't read the room. And it's, oh yeah, come on over, like, we'll chit chat, well this, well, you know what I mean? But I don't know. He's very strange in this movie, and like we said, he doesn't even have the symbiote on yet.
Yeah, I mean, all this could have been easily explainable if you just would have had him have the suit on sooner. It would have explained all his strange behavior in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why don't we talk about that fucking symbiote and all the behavior he has? I will say right off the bat, Black Suit Spider-Man looks fucking badass.
It's okay. It's not the comic version, but
no, but
okay.
Again, his
right.
even his regular suit isn't the comic version.
No,
it's close, but it's not. I think it looks really cool.
Tight.
However, the Black Suit Spider-Man out of the suit does not look as cool because he looks like a fucking idiot.
It's fucking cringy as fuck, bro.
With his hair combed down and it's weird. Like
he's cringy and awkward and strange. Why are you acting like this?
What doesn't make sense to me is he is okay. So he is Spider-Man, and even if he doesn't have the suit on, he's got the strength, the speed, all of those other things. So you would think that he's already gotten confidence, like self-confidence in himself. But the way he behaves once he has this symbiote, it's like his confidence is dialed up to 11. Like, what did it change? I get that it enhances things, but now it's basically turned you into this fucking egomaniac that I can't understand why anybody would want to be around.
Yeah, well, the suit kind of, it definitely messes with your emotions, but not in that way. It definitely slowly starts to make you more aggressive and have more rage and anger, but not the way that they were showing it in this movie, man.
No.
It was just cringy. It was just super cringy.
Yeah. Well, and then of course we get the dancing scene down the street, which I will say it's one of the stupidest parts of this movie, but because of it, I cannot stop laughing. And I know that it's not something I don't know because I don't know Sam Raimi, but I don't think he put it in there with a comedic purpose. Like I honestly think that part is in there. I don't think it was supposed to be funny. I think that part was still supposed to be borderline serious. Like just showing the personality change. But I laugh my fucking ass off anytime I see it. Because he looks so ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Guy goes through a fucking complete personality change in a blink of an eye. But the shit is so cringy, man. Like, the motherfucker, he's like winking at girls and shit, and they're looking at him like, what the fuck?
Well, I noticed. So I've heard this movie discussed in other podcasts, and I've heard that issue brought up, and it's funny because before he starts the actual dancing down the street, when he's walking and he's just got that confidence about him, a lot of the girls that he does pass are looking at him like, oh, who's this guy? Like, they're actually intrigued. The minute he starts dancing, it's like those same women are looking at him like he's the biggest fucking loser on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't have to add dancing, bro. Like, what is this? Is Venom making you dance? Like, oh my god.
Well, Venom's making him a fucking abuser.
Or the symbiote. Yeah, like it's not what that does. It's not what the symbiote does to a person.
No, not at all.
And just the way the execution was just poor, just super poorly executed, and not close to the comic book rendition.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't know. It's I struggle
like,
finding words. It's so irritating and upsetting.
yeah, you could tell whoever wrote this, was it Sam Raimi, did not know who Venom the symbiote is, because there's a scene where he goes to a a store to get a suit when the symbiote can make a suit.
Yeah, it can create all the clothing and things like that. It doesn't. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
To buy it. And exactly. And again, you could have shown that in the movie, and it would have,
cut out some of the nonsense extra scenes that we don't need, like making the Sandman the one who killed Uncle Ben, and you can add a scene in to show the symbiote that it can replicate and create the clothes and whatnot that he wants to wear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just thought that was, again, another missed opportunity, and another example of not knowing the character that you're writing for.
So what did you think of, I'll ask you this. Well, I mean, Harry still has his amnesia, and he decides that MJ calls him first, but then he decides that he would like a little company and some help in the kitchen. This fucking scene, this omelet scene, has no place in this movie. It's so weird.
Yeah, he could have just cut this completely out of the movie.
Well, then it ends after the scene with Mary Jane cheating now on Peter by kissing fucking Harry. This fucking oh god, this character, man.
Yeah, they had to, I guess, to explain the kiss, they had to have this horrible scene. But again, you didn't really need.
The thing that sticks out to me so much is you've got two kids that are basically like in their early 20s, like college age, and they're fucking dancing around listening to Chubby Checker playing The Twist, which is a song that I believe came out in like the early 60s or late 50s.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong, I grew up, my parents listening to oldies music and things like that. I love that stuff. But I don't think if I was trying to have, because I refuse to believe that Harry didn't immediately mean for this to be something romantic, just the way that he is, even though he still does have that amnesia for the moment. He knew what he was doing. Why would you put a song like that on? It's just I thought it was a really weird choice.
Yeah. That whole scene is the wrong choice.
Well, and then right afterwards, it's like, what was the point of the amnesia? Because now all he needs is, the memory, the ghost of his father, I don't know what it is, talking to him and basically like, oh yeah, I remember everything. I'm the new goblin, I'm this, I'm like, and then he goes and fucking kidnaps Mary Jane. Like, here she, again, damsel, like, oh, this fucking movie.
Yeah, again, yeah. Just that whole amnesia thing, I don't know why it was in the movie to begin with. It was, again, something that was added to the movie that just makes the whole movie. It's the reason why it's so jumbled. There's so much going on. and that's just one of the contributing factors that you could have completely edited it out, taken it out of the movie, and it really wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird choices. What I consider to be the weirdest and cringiest would probably be the best word to use, is Peter bringing Gwen to the jazz club where Mary Jane is now working as a singing waitress. Because it's quite obvious, like, it has nothing to do, because Mary Jane has, she's basically been blackmailed by Harry to dump Peter, so I guess he's upset and wants revenge, and wearing the symbiote kind of enhances all those desires or those impulses. So he takes, oh my god, Gwen, I was blanking on her name for a second. He takes Gwen to this jazz club where Mary Jane works and performs, and the whole thing is to just rub Mary Jane's nose in it and make her upset. It's like, and that ends with him fucking hitting her. Like,
Yeah.
What? Well, first it starts off with him doing some weird fucking dance. It reminds me of the jazz flute scene in Anchorman, with the way Peter starts like dancing on chairs and tables all through the restaurant. And then it ends with the bouncers. Yeah. Pardon?
I said a little, yeah. Yeah. Now that you say it.
He's playing jazz flute.
Exactly.
And then the scene ends with fucking the bouncers trying to get him out, and Mary Jane comes to help, and he just straight full-on backhands her across the face.
Yeah. I mean,
I get that he didn't know it was her, but it's like he doesn't even seem remorseful when he's looking down at her on the ground. It's like, it's almost like he's looking at her like, how dare you put your hands on me in that way type thing.
Yeah.
It's just another instance of him being written and portrayed as such a horrible person. And like the furthest thing away from what Spider-Man really is.
For sure. I mean, at this point in time, all his actions are motivated by the suit, the symbiote. But yeah, that's oh wait, no, that's the explanation for it. But yeah, I mean, they had to establish him being an absolute dick because of the symbiote suit.
Well, like we said though, why was he a dick before that? It doesn't
exactly. I mean, yeah, I have no explanation for that.
It could have been done in a better way. It's just
given if you would have just gave him it earlier, it would have explained all his behavior, and it could have been a slow ramp up of awfulness.
No, it takes place in like you say, a 30-second montage type scene with this upbeat music in the background. Then all of a sudden, his hair goes from being combed back to kind of over his forehead, and here we are. Here's fucking asshole Peter Parker.
Yeah, just a dick. Yeah, he's just a fucking dick in this movie.
And then even you get to the point where now you got to bounce back into the fucking rivalry storyline with him and Eddie, because there's not enough going on in this movie already. This is where they find out that Eddie has brought a picture of Spider-Man. I think it's robbing a bank. And so he's been given the staff job at the Bugle, and Peter gets all upset about it, and he realizes that the photo that Eddie has used is something that he actually photoshopped, and it's not a real legitimate photo. And Eddie begs him not to turn him in because it'll ruin him, and he's right. I mean, You do something like that in any kind of media where you're held accountable for your sources and the product that you put out there. He gets fired, and rightfully so. And that leads into, it is my favorite scene of the movie because it's something I never thought I would ever see in a superhero movie, but it's so funny to me. And it's when Eddie is in the church and he is praying to God to kill Peter Parker.
It's wild.
It's
That shit is wild.
it cracks, like, he is borderline in tears, and he's like, "Hey God, it's me. I just have one request. I need you to kill Peter Parker." And I'm like, wait a second. You are in a church.
That's not how God works.
It's so ridiculous, and it cracks me up every time.
It was fuck. It's like, are you serious? Yeah, that was one of many. Just for some reason, it just cringe. I cringe when he says those words, because it's like just the way he said it, and the fact that he's basically just begging. Yeah, it was just. Yeah. It's pathetic. And yeah, I if that was the goal, he definitely succeeded, because he looked pathetic in that moment.
Well, but don't you think maybe it worked a little bit, because immediately after him doing that, he goes into the bell tower. And I'm sorry, but Eddie Brock must have the most powerful eyes, because he looks up. How tall would you say that bell tower is? 5, 6, 7 stories. He looks up because the whole thing is Peter's trying. For some reason, Peter chose that bell tower to retreat to. I don't know why, but he's trying to get the suit off because he's realizing what it's been doing to him. And the bell rings because it marks like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever time it is. And we find out that the symbiote really doesn't like or can't take the effect of loud noises, and it irritates it. Mm-hmm. So Peter's able to get out of it, and he kind of saves Eddie and the whole deal. And to try and get rid of it, he throws one of Harry's pumpkin bombs, because Harry has now come back as a good guy at the end of this movie somehow. But he throws a pumpkin bomb at the symbiote to try and destroy it, and fucking Eddie dives in because he needs to save the symbiote or something or other. And it blows up and kills both the symbiote and Eddie Brock. This whole final fight scene and climax I thought was so convoluted, because you've got, again, like I've been saying, you've got Spider-Man with 3 villains. Well, now 2, because Harry's turned good, quote unquote. It's hard to follow. It's jumbled. It's just a big disappointment, in my opinion.
Yeah, the final fight, I didn't hate it, but yeah, I like the fact that, I appreciate the team up, because I do like, the moments of peril with Spider-Man, like how is he gonna get out of it. I appreciate that moment in that scene, but yeah, overall it could have been done way better, man. It was kind of lackluster for me, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. It's a lot of the ending of this movie seems, number one, it seems rushed, Like, he could have. Now, this would have made the movie considerably longer, but he could have had a showdown with like each villain kind of individually. But they just, like you said, they just kind of combine them all together, and it's, I don't know.
Yeah, they kind of just team up out of nowhere. They just find each other and team up.
Well, and the
30
and
seconds.
the way that Harry and Peter are teaming up against Sandman and Venom at the end, it's like they've been doing this for years.
A little bit, yeah.
It's like they can. It's almost like they can sense what each other is thinking, and it's so strange. But we get more of Harry's sweet Green Goblin look.
Yeah. Awful.
It wasn't that bad.
I wasn't feeling any part of that whole outfit.
You don't like James Franco. You're biased.
But even before that, I did not like it. Nah.
No, I know what you mean.
Feeling that design of that nah. That's some early 2000s shit. For sure. That is a character definitely created in the early 2000s for a movie. With the snowboard.
He's extreme.
But yeah. For sure. Triple X. Yeah. Yeah, the final climax had moments. Definitely had Spider-Man moments, but overall, just it missed the mark.
I think my favorite part of the climax fight has to be when they do the callback, because, like I said before, when Peter's wearing the symbiote suit, he goes to the church and the bell tower, and you see the sound is what affects it, and like kind of makes it freak out a little bit. So he, by taking the poles that he does and basically jamming them all in the ground in a big circle with Venom or Eddie, whatever you want to call him, in the center and starts hitting them. I like that because, like I say, it was a callback from earlier in the movie, and it's something that is actually effective, because if that's the only way that symbiote shows weakness, there's no way that just shooting a web at it like Peter would do is going to do anything. This at least kind of made it a bit more realistic that it might have a chance of working.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's always been Venom's weaknesses. Vibration, sound. So yeah, I do appreciate that part of the scene for sure.
So I'm gonna ask so by the end of the movie, in that final scene, that climactic fight scene, it's still Mary Jane who is the quote unquote, as we've been calling her, the damsel. She's still the one that Sandman and Venom kind of take and kidnap. So what was the point of even introducing Gwen into this movie and into this universe, this storyline, if they weren't going to utilize her except for a reason for Mary Jane to be jealous or to be upset with Peter? Is there a reason that you can think of that I'm just not understanding?
No, just other than just having an established character in the movie. Only real reason.
Yeah, I don't think it serves a purpose, because she doesn't do anything in it, really. Except, like I said, make Mary Jane jealous.
Yeah, no, she could have put anybody in that role, really.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could keep harping on this movie, but I kind of think that I've already done that quite a bit tonight.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if I really have a whole lot else to say about this film in general, except once we get to our closing thoughts. But is there anything that you wanted to kind of specifically bring up or discuss about this that we haven't touched on?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Just one.
Oh God. Why do I have a feeling that I'm gonna regret this?
No. The butler.
Oh, Bernard.
He takes the biggest L in this entire franchise for not telling Harry about Norman. Fucking 3 movies ago, my nigga. Like, why did you do this? Why did you hold back and not say this a hell of a lot sooner than you did, bro?
Dude, I thought this is gonna sound ridiculous. I thought for the longest time, because Bernard is in the second movie too, but in the second movie, there's nobody else in the house with Harry. I thought for the longest time that he was in his head. That he like wasn't an actual person, and that Harry was just like going fucking crazy.
Might as well have. That would have made sense. At least of him not telling him what happened to fucking.
Oh yeah, he waits till the absolute last minute. Oh yeah, by the way, your father was a bad person. I helped him like with it. Dude, where were you? Where were you months ago, a year ago, however long it's been? Like, why would you not tell me this?
For so long? What is wrong with you? He's the real villain. He is the real villain of the story. He is the 4th villain of the movie.
I still can't get over this movie having 3 villains.
Goddamn. I mean, you can juggle 3 villains for sure, especially in a Spider-Man movie. It's just.
Can you do it competently though?
They tried to juggle, and that shit. As soon as they started, that all that shit fell to the floor.
I'm trying to think of another comic book movie that did the whole 3 villain trope. And I don't think I can think of one. I'm wondering if they just saw the way this was done and went, no, we'll just keep it at 1 or 2. Because 2, I think, can work, because then you've got 2 individual people who can come together for that combined goal. And for some reason, the main examples in my head are fucking Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. 2 of the worst. But at least you can see where I'm going with, like, each one of those, the villains had their own agendas, and then they just teamed up together to kind of enhance what their goals were, as opposed to this movie. It seems like it was a complete afterthought. And then it was like, oh shit, we've got to get them together, so we better write some way to combine them. It felt really rushed.
Yeah, it definitely felt like they rushed. Yeah, it felt rushed. I agree.
But yeah, you are 100% right about Bernard. He should have said something a long time ago. Just like we had said Peter should have told Harry a long time ago what really happened.
Exactly.
I don't know why these 2 members of basically Norman's family are willing to hide these things. He's dead. Like, it ain't helping him for you to just sit there and be like, no, he didn't. That wasn't him.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. Did he just wanted to cause chaos until it was ready to tell him? I don't know. I don't know his motivations behind telling him so late. But like I said, he takes the absolute biggest L in this whole trilogy.
Yeah, it's like, well, wait, I'm gonna tell him about his dad, but I'm gonna wait until he hits absolute rock bottom and has no real other way out, and then I'm gonna let him know what the truth is.
It's like he was cleaning some shit one day, and he's like, Oh fuck! I forgot to tell this nigga. It's
I forgot to tell him. How could I forget?
like damn. I told myself to remember 5 years ago.
He
Damn.
sets a reminder on his
I knew
calendar.
I forgot something.
In his calendar on his phone. Tell Harry your dad.
He's like, oh shit. Oops. That's my bad. My bad, everyone.
But again, you lose. The problem is, it's such a. And a lot of movies end up like this, but it's such a simple fix that if you simply do it, you lose a lot of what the movie is showing.
Yeah, you'd have
Because
to
if,
come up
if, if
with a better idea.
yeah, because if Harry finds out, if Harry knows what his dad was and all that, he doesn't. I mean, he might still a little bit, but I highly doubt he behaves the way that he does in that same situation.
Yeah, no. I don't think he would have at all. But yeah. Yeah.
But I do
Yeah.
want to say what we were talking about earlier, the way that this movie could have been done better. And I stand by this, and I've said this for quite a long time, because they were already signed on to do that fourth movie. They had already started the pre-production and everything until the not critical acclaim, that's the wrong word, but the critical response came back on this. I think the better way, because like we had said, the studio wanted Sam Raimi to put Venom in because he was the popular thing with fans, and they knew that it would get them money. And I get that, but there's also a way to do things. And I think what I think would have been a really good way to end this movie is to basically have that scene in the church where the symbiote covers Eddie. That should have been the closing scene of the movie. I think that would have been a really good way to do it, because that way you only get him for a split second, but you would at least get that little bit of Venom, and then immediately for the next movie you could have the whole thing be about Venom and Peter, which is how Venom should be portrayed.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a really interesting way to end the movie. Is just kind of do that zoom in through the teeth, cut to black, and roll credits. I think would have been a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah, I would like that.
And also, the movie might not have seemed so busy as it did with the three villains, but I digress. So I think, like I said, I think that's all I really had wanted to say about this movie. And if you don't have anything else that you wanted to discuss, or any issues you might want to get off your chest, I think we can move on to closing thoughts. If you think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I'm good.
So I will say that overall, in a complete general sense, I do not like this movie. I think that's pretty obvious for anybody who's listening to this. I think it's a jumbled mess, and they tried to do too many things all at once. Like I said, I like how Sandman was portrayed, how he was animated, the whole thing, the Venom thing, the symbiote with Peter, the relationships, the acting, all of it just was the downfall of this movie. The Sandman, to me, and the way that, as I said before, Harry looked as the Goblin, to me, were the bright spots. Yeah, it's not for me, and to rate this movie, I'm going to have to give this a 4 out of 10. I can't justify much higher than that. It's not, to me, I didn't find it enjoyable, and I would not recommend it to anybody. The only person I would ever recommend this to is if you're a completionist and you've seen the first two Sam Raimi movies. That's the only way I would recommend this movie. Otherwise, save yourself 2 hours and do literally anything else instead.
Yeah. I I enjoyed it slightly better than you. More than you, sorry. I just thought it was just okay. I liked the action. Most of it was well done. CG holds up. When I revisit this, I usually don't obviously watch the whole movie. I'll just watch the clips that I like, that I enjoy, and then I leave it at that. If I do recommend this, I'll just give them the scenes that are good, like 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 the action scenes.
So nothing that involves acting.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend this movie as a whole to anybody. Unless you're just a super Spider-Man stan, then yeah, I'm sure you could get some enjoyment out of it. I'd give this. I'd give it a 5. 5.5.
5.5? Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't really expect either one of us to be very big fans of it, so I'm not really surprised. It's kind of where I thought we would end up. I think that's going to about do it for this episode of Geeked Out. And as always, I want to invite all our listeners to follow our socials, which I will be posting in the description of the episode. You can also find us pretty much everywhere that you can find your podcasts, except Apple Podcasts. Right now, I've been having some trouble getting us posted up on there, but I'm trying to work through that. We are also on YouTube now as well. You can find us just by searching Geeked Out, and you should be able to find us on there. So give us a subscribe and maybe leave a comment and let us know if you're enjoying what we're doing, or if you're not. I mean, everybody has the right to their own opinion. But yeah, give us a follow, give us a like and subscribe, and give us we'd appreciate a nice 5-star rating. We like those. And so next week, we are going to continue in the world of comics, and we are going to delve into the world of mutants with the first X-Men film. I am very excited for this. X-Men for me has always been one of my favorite properties that Marvel or any other company has produced. So I'm very excited for the X-Men. So, pardon me?
It'll be nice revisiting it. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, I haven't watched them in quite some time, so I'm quite excited to go back and see them. So that's gonna do it for us for this week, and I'd like to thank everybody for listening. Thank you guys all for subscribing, and we'll talk to you next week. Take it easy.
Peace.